exposed.
I can't imagine somebody thinking that they were going to plant this stuff down there and it wasn't going to be discovered.
Police bust a marijuana growing operation near a popular fishing spot. Find out the key to catching the suspect. Kicking off to a new start. How a symbol of devastation has become a symbol of hope for victims of Hurricane Katrina.
Live from the Fox 9 studios, here are Robin.
How neighbors desperately try to get officers to the house as soon as possible. If the scene outside of the Washington County home looked urgent, it was nothing compared to the 911 call. The single caller said, "Yeah, I got shots fired next to our neighbor's house." The dispatcher says, "Okay, how many shots did you hear?" The caller, "The kids were in the house. They said their mom's been shot and she's on the ground." The woman on the line says she doesn't know where the two boys are. At 4:30 that morning, Steve Van Kuren broke into the house of his ex-girlfriend, Terry Lee. He shot and killed Lee along with her friend, Tim Hawkinson. The caller told 911, "They're going to need paramedics and I need as many cops as you can get over here." The dispatcher said, "Okay, is he still there?" The caller answers, "Yeah, he's still there. I got two of the girls in my house right now." Terry Lee's 4 children were in the house. After the shooting, the 2 daughters escaped and ran to the neighbors for help. The neighbor told 911, "I don't see any activity over there right now," and the alarm shut off. The dispatcher asks, "Can you ask the girls how many times the child or their mom was shot?" The neighbor eventually says, "A lot." While the transcripts reveal the neighbors did not know the whereabouts of the 2 brothers, it turns out they hid in a closet. But the call does reveal obvious concern for all of the children. The neighbor says, "I think they lost their dad 4 years ago." The dispatcher responds, "We got help coming. Just try and keep them calm, okay?" Fortunately, the children were not harmed in this shooting. They are now in the care of relatives. And coming up at 5:30 tonight, what the transcripts reveal about how many shots may have been fired last Friday morning. Reporting live in St. Paul, Tim Blotz, Fox 9 News.
All right, Tim. Police discover more than the typical plants growing in a Bloomington wildlife refuge. More than 200 marijuana plants were growing near a popular fishing spot on the Minnesota River. Fox 9's Bill Keller's live with how police found out who was growing those plants. Bill?
Well, Jeff, the suspects picked this spot near the Minnesota River for 2 reasons. Number one, the very fertile soil, and second, the fact they thought they would never be caught. But once discovered, Bloomington police spent 3 months with surveillance to identify the operators of what police call a highly organized marijuana growing operation. It is one of the biggest drug busts in Bloomington history. 240 marijuana plants, some more than 10 feet tall, recovered from the Minnesota Valley National Wildlife Refuge.
It's fairly sophisticated. I mean, they'd obviously gone to some effort to find a secluded area. They put a fair amount of work in it.
Arrested were Ross Thomas Flatguard and Jason Charles Brua, both 24, and 23-year-old Kevin Mark Hansen. Bloomington police have been watching the group of men tending to their marijuana plants since July. The crop was discovered by some nature lovers on the lookout for buckthorn.
I can't imagine somebody thinking that they were going to plant this stuff down there and it wasn't going to be discovered.
Investigators with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service used motion-activated cameras to catch the trio repeatedly tending to 2 large tracts of well-cultivated plants.
They put up some makeshift fences and tried to cut some branches to put around it, try to conceal the plants. But with, 200 and some plants of marijuana, it's going to take up a fairly big area.
Fully grown, the hidden crop could yield about 250 pounds of marijuana.
But this one at 200 and some plants is very sizable. Like I say, most of the grow operations we come across are substantially smaller than that.
A search of the suspect's home turned up seeds, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia. Each suspect is now charged with possession and sale of marijuana. Now, if convicted on both charges, each suspect could face up to 10 years in prison and a $20,000 fine. Live in Bloomington, Bill Keller, Fox 9 News.
Well, just a month after a plot's foiled to blow up commercial flights to the U.S., the government's loosening up some of its security measures. Starting tomorrow, you can bring liquids and gels on commercial flights, but only if you buy them at the airport. The bottles aren't any larger than 3 ounces, and they can fit in a clear Ziploc bag, and it has to be a Ziploc. Larger amounts of liquid prescription medications and baby formula have to be declared at security checkpoints for extra screening. Oil prices are down, and that means so is the cost of gas. A barrel of oil fell below $60 today. And nationwide, gas prices have dropped almost 24 cents in the last 2 weeks. In the Twin Cities, you can fill her up for about $2.09 a gallon. We always want to help you find the lowest prices around town, so we checked the Fox 9 gas gauge and found unleaded's $2.07 a gallon at the PDQ on 7th Avenue and East River Road in Anoka. And for the best prices near you, just log on to myfox9.com.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. You don't have to take a small loan out all of a sudden when you want to get
Yeah.
your gas. A big night for the Minnesota Twins. They could be on their way to the playoffs if all goes well.
They're set to take on Kansas City here at home, and we're watching the clock because it's happening in just under 2 hours. But you know things are already cooking at the Dome. Fox 9's Don Mitchell is live on the field. Hey, Don.
Hi, you guys. You know the magic number is now 2, and the best thing about it is the Twins control part of their destiny. They want to beat the Kansas City Royals tonight, but they'll have to get some help in order to get into the playoffs tonight from the White Sox. So it has to be a combination of a win here by the Twins over the Royals and a White Sox loss. So you know that Joe Mauer and company hit the field today with some high hopes. Hey, they still have their eyes on the Central Division. It's not only about the Wild, but to know that you have a for sure ticket to the postseason is something they're not taking lightly. Of course, Mauer out in Baltimore hit his 12th homer of the year. Lots of guys now finding their stride, finding the power. Torrey Hunter back strong regardless of that sore foot. These guys are ready for the playoffs. Everyone had written them off at the beginning of the season. They had a slow start, and now they say they are certainly ready to go. You know, they want to be able to break open the champagne, but like we said, they're still waiting to hopefully get a shot at the Central Division title. That's even better. They're not putting their nose down at all. They want to get into the playoffs. So if they can get the Central Division title and take home field advantage, that's exactly what they will do tonight. They look to Boof Bonser to get the victory. So if they take care of their own house and hopefully the White Sox lose, we will be talking postseason. It's nice to hear, isn't it? We're live at the Dome. Don Mitchell, Fox 9 Sports.
Praying to those baseball gods. Thanks, Don. Well, we're not trying to rub salt into the wound, but the Vikings were handed their first loss of the season yesterday, beat by the Bears 19-16 at the Dome. So you know there was a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking that's been going on today surrounding the offense and whether it can put enough points on the board to win games. Yesterday, only the defense got in the end zone and the offense struggled, especially down the stretch.
So we want to know what you think about the Vikings offense and Brad Johnson at quarterback. The Fox 9 inbox is open to email us. You can go to myfox9.com and then click on the Fox 9 inbox or call us at 952-946-1234 and leave us a message. And we will play and read your comments throughout our newscast. If you're just getting in the door, we have your Just Home headlines. The Commerce Department plans to audit the National Weather Service after last week's deadly tornado in Rogers. This in response to a request from Senator Mark Dayton. The Weather Service says it did not have time to issue a warning because the tornado hit before it showed up on radar. Masabe Airlines needs to cut costs to stay in business. The regional carrier has met with their pilots and plans to talk with mechanics tomorrow. If the airline doesn't make a deal with the unions by Thursday, they'll ask a judge to reject their contracts.
Peace and understanding is a mission at the Vatican, where Pope Benedict XVI is trying to heal relations with the Muslim community. The pontiff met with Muslim leaders and says Catholics and Muslims must come together to reject violence. Well, many Muslims were outraged by the Pope's remarks 2 weeks ago when he quoted a medieval text that was critical of Islam. But Pope Benedict says he was misunderstood. Protesters broke into the Russian finance ministry and state treasury in Moscow and chained themselves to windows on almost every floor of the building. The group threw out leaflets blaming the government for poverty in Russia, but in the end, police wound up escorting the protesters from the building.
Hurricane Katrina ripped it apart. It housed some 30,000 residents, but now, more than 1 year later, the New Orleans Superdome is back and ready for its real purpose, football. We're taking a live look from New Orleans. The Saints in the Dome going to play host for the first time tonight since the hurricane. And not only that, it'll be to a sold-out audience, another first in franchise history.
We've never had to remove a surface under the conditions that we did here at the Superdome, not only because there was no lights, there was no air. I mean, our people walked in here wearing moon suits virtually with respirators, etc., to remove this surface.
Saints taking on the Falcons tonight. The rebuilding cost nearly $200 million.
It's been a nice fall day around here, but the week could be spoiled because rain could be on the way. And Mike Nico's in for Janie with Weather First.
That's that time of the year, Robin,
so.
when, yeah, just wait a few minutes. It's going to change. You don't have a happy look on your face because of that.
Oh, man, I'm not happy. I'm sorry.
That boat's coming right at you there, Mike, in the background.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have too many more days to do this. And you can see it's kind of choppy out there right now. Definitely, if you're going to head out this evening, dress a little warmly. Temperatures are in the 60s as we speak, from 64 at Roseau, 61 at Bemidji. Brainerd checking in at 66. Twin Cities, we're at 66 right now also. But as we head through the evening hours with this dry air and clear sky in place, upper 50s with a northwest wind that'll calm down a little bit, 6 to 12. So grab a jacket if you're going to be walking the dog or the kids around. We'll talk about when the rain will come in and the cold weather. Complete forecast in a few minutes.
All right, Mike. Hopefully you'll have better news than that in just a bit. How the death penalty debate could tip the political scales? Well, there's been talk all about it. Also, we're going to be talking to KFAN's Dan Barrero about the Vikings. Plus, former President Clinton lashing out at a Fox anchor. Get both sides of the story. And later, a drive-through robbery's caught on tape. See the whole thing and why thieves couldn't get away with the cash.
This is Fox 9 News with Robin Robinson, Jeff Passolt, and meteorologist Janie Peterson.
It was a beautiful start to the week. The sun was shining all day today outside.
Yeah, couldn't beat it. The leaves also starting to change a little bit in Bloomington. We caught an array of colors from red to orange. Still a little green in there, too. Some leaves are already falling to the ground. You know what that means. It's time to get out the rake. And the rules vary from city to city. If you want to know what to do with your leaves, just log on to myfox9.com and then click on links and numbers, and that'll help you out. So how long is this weather going to hold out?
Oh, Mr. Nico is here. He's going to fill us in.
I wish I had better news, especially if you want to see some of that fall foliage, because that blue sky was a beautiful backdrop for the leaves that are changing, the yellows and the oranges and the reds that you mentioned. But it looks like the winds may have something to do with whether we see some of these leaves even stay on the tree that have already changed, because it's going to get quite gusty when we go from the warm weather tomorrow to the breezy, chilly Canadian air on Wednesday and Thursday. Here's a look outside. Doesn't it look great? This is Eden Prairie. Open up our weather window and you can see the sun just beaming down. Hardly a cloud to be found out there. Temperatures in the mid-60s as we speak. In fact, we're still sitting at our high for the day of 66 degrees. Check out the average, 68, low 48, average 47. So a pretty typical or picture-perfect average fall day here in the Twin Cities. Unfortunately, this time of year, things don't stay average. That's why we call it average. We have highs and we have lows, and we're going to tip the scale up a little bit before we really tip the scale back down and feel the wrath of some cooler weather. If you're heading out at 66 right now, as mentioned, humidity's rather light at 37%. You might want a windbreaker. Northwest at 12. Sometimes they've been gusting up to 16, 17 miles per hour. But as the sun starts to set, we'll see a calmness develop over the Twin Cities in western Wisconsin, and those winds will be down around 6 to 12 miles per hour. But the temperature will also drop off to about 58 or 59 degrees by 9 o'clock. So here's what we have. Here are your highlights for the next 24 to 40 hours. A warm breeze develops tonight into tomorrow. That's going to set the stage for some strong storms tomorrow. We're not under a risk of severe weather, but the Storm Prediction Center is watching, especially northeastern Minnesota and the northwoods of Wisconsin. Just north of the Twin Cities, we could see a good cluster of thunderstorms develop. Some of those could have some gusty winds and some hail. And then Canada opens up the floodgates, and we get a wash of cold air. It's going to make it cool, and it's going to make it gray. Here's the warm front starting to roll in. So tonight, I think we'll drop down to about 50 degrees, close to this morning, 40s out in the suburbs. A few passing clouds, but for all intents and purposes, tomorrow morning it's going to be fine. Tomorrow afternoon, you can see once this front passes, the winds are going to pick up out of the southwest. Could get up to around 30 miles per hour near the front. So up in northern Minnesota, it could be a very gusty day with white knuckle weather if you're driving a high-profile vehicle. Here in the Twin Cities, here we are at 7 o'clock, and notice how the computer is painting the stronger thunderstorms just to the north of us. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have some strong thunderstorms on the radar at 9 o'clock also tomorrow. As this front rolls through, it'll wipe the slate clean. We'll wake up to clouds and temperature about 50 again Wednesday morning. Not too bad. We don't warm up much Wednesday afternoon, maybe 57 at most, because you keep your eye on this secondary cool front. That's another push of cooler, wet air that's going to ride the jet stream down. This jet stream is going to stay locked in for a couple of days, and that means we're going to ride 50-degree weather all the way into the weekend or the end of September. And as we showed last week, we've had 8 50-degree days. We get any more, and we'll keep climbing up the scale. I think 13 is the most we've ever had 50-degree high temperatures in September. So your two-day forecast, calling for not bad. I mean, if you have any outdoor plans this evening, remember, grab a jacket and 50. Scattered thunderstorms as we head towards Tuesday afternoon into the evening hours. Temperature could push the upper 70s to near 80 in southwest Minnesota, the area least likely to see the thunderstorms. And then Wednesday and Wednesday night, reversal of fortune, 50 to 57 with that chilly northwest wind. Don't look at me like that. I don't want to make you sad.
Oh, man, the rain is going to ruin that big P. Diddy party downtown next Sunday. You got your invitation. I know you got it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't
You did, huh?
opened it yet.
He said the what?
Yeah. What's
About a 20-degree drop there, Mike.
All right. It's going to
Thanks,
stay around,
Mike.
too.
Thanks.
That's bad news. Thanks, Mike. Well, we asked you earlier what you think of Brad Johnson as the Vikings' main man, Big Kahuna, whatever you call it. Should he be quarterback? The inbox is open. Just email us at myfox9.com and click on the Fox 9 inbox. Or you can call us at 952-946-1234 and leave a message. We'll try to play or read your comments throughout our newscast.
Who isn't talking about the Vikings and that loss to the Bears today? From their offense to Coach Childress, he has an opinion on all of it. We're talking about Fox 9 contributor and KFAN's Dan Barrera. Dan, I'm sure you're hearing from everybody today about the Vikings. Their rough one yesterday against the Bears. Hey, they got lucky a couple times on the road. They come home here against a very good Bears team, but what's wrong with the offense all of a sudden?
I have absolutely no idea, Jeffrey. I do know that when your special teams and your defense has the same number of touchdowns as your offense 3 games in, even this, low-risk offense, that's just not going to work. And I look at it this way. I think the defense has played well enough for this team to be undefeated. And I look at this defense and say maybe 1-2. I'll give them the first game against Washington because it was a nice fourth-quarter drive. I won't give them either of the last 2. And I don't know if it's caution or it's a lack of playmakers, but they're not going to be able to be a real factor the way they want to if they don't get something going defensively. Well, I should say offensively.
Didn't we hear going in that Childress was this kind of coach, that he liked to keep the score low? Philadelphia kind of does it. You win it with defense, and you don't turn the ball over.
Well, that's fine within its limits, but and I have to say, I'm very encouraged by what I've seen defensively. But you hit on a key thing here. This guy is an offensive guy who allegedly has been just chomping at the bit, to be in charge of the play calling. Glenn Mason could have called the last fade route. I mean, that's a play right out of his playbook, and to me, was a brutal call. It's easy to say now, of course, but it's such a tough pass to complete, and when you're on 4th and 2 and you've got to keep the ball, you're just and you're only trying to get 3 points. That one puzzled me. I had no idea where that one came from.
There are often bandwagon jumpers here in Minnesota. We see it, with every sports team.
Sure.
Is this going to affect what happens, the way the fans are following the Vikings right now? I mean, they're 2-1. I think a lot of people would have said, hey, after 3 games, this team's 2-1, you'd be happy.
You factor in the 3 teams they play, 2-1, looks fine to me. It shouldn't be a huge issue. And I'll say again, if you really have followed this team, the idea that you might finally have a legitimate defense should be enough to encourage people to say, let's hang on and see if they can start building something offensively. But it's going to have to get better offensively, or it's not going to matter. Much as people like to talk about Brad, 1 touchdown in 3 games, I don't care how few mistakes you're making, that's not going to get it done.
I think maybe he's his own worst critic, too. Hey, do they get kind of a reprieve here because the Twins are hot? They're headed for the playoffs more than likely?
Yeah, it's that always enters into it. I mean, there's no question there's a lot of Twins discussion going on out there. But I'll say, like you say, you look at the first 3 opponents, and you look at 2-1. If you look at 2-1 before the season started, you'd say that's not bad, given you're at Buffalo next week, which should be a victory, and then I think you've got Detroit here before the bye. So you're in position, if you do what you're supposed to do now, to be 4-1 going into that bye week.
And 2 out of 3 through the season, that's at least 10 wins, right?
You are correct.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Jeff.
And the feeling 10 wins probably gets you into the playoffs. I guess it's kind of like Meatloaf. Isn't he from Chicago? 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Accused of stealing a pregnant woman's fetus and now murdering her 3 kids.
It's a very emotional time for all of our departments and the families involved in this case.
What a judge is recommending for the suspect.
So you did Fox's bidding on this show. You did your nice little conservative hit job on me.
Chris Wallace says former President Bill Clinton gets up in his grill.
Do you think you did?
Why he was so upset?
No, because I didn't get it.
New reaction from the Sunday news anchor.
Yeah, if you're just getting in the door, We're glad you could join us. You get back out in that sunshine in just a little bit. We're going to tell you more about what's going on in the news. While campaigning for Republican candidates in Ohio, President Bush is talking money. The president says the U.S. economy is strong because of his tax cuts.
And one of the main reasons it's strong is because of the tax cuts that we passed. And the fundamental question facing the country is, will we keep taxes low?
The president says Congress needs to make tax cuts permanent. If you were watching Fox 9 on Sunday, you saw former President Bill Clinton rip into Chris Wallace.
No, because I didn't get him. Right. But at least I tried. That's the difference in me and some, including all the right-wingers.
President Clinton got riled up after the Fox News anchor asked about failed attempts to take out Osama bin Laden while he was in office. Wallace said the former president was getting up in his face.
I was just simply asked him, people want to know, why didn't you do more? It wasn't baiting, it wasn't, I think, even antagonistic, and he just seemed set off.
In case you missed that heated interview on Fox News Sunday, you can check out the whole thing on myfox9.com.
Yeah, it was something. Well, 2 more people are sick from bad spinach. There are now 173 cases of E. coli in 25 states. The latest been reported in Wisconsin. Over 90 people have been hospitalized. 1 person has died, and 2 other deaths are being investigated. The FDA is warning people not to eat pre-packaged spinach. An Illinois woman could end up facing the death penalty for killing her pregnant best friend. Now a judge has ordered the accused murderer to take a psychological exam. Andy Flick has the latest in tonight's Fox Spotlight.
Appearing in an Illinois court via video Monday, 24-year-old Tiffany Hall pleaded not guilty to charges she killed her pregnant friend, then cut the fetus from her womb. The judge ordered a psychological evaluation of Hall. Her attorney says he's not sure Hall knew what was happening after her arrest.
They'll have to take a look and see whether or not she could have possibly understood rights and warnings given to her as to her rights to have counsel present when she was interrogated.
Authorities say Hall, a mother of 2, killed Jamila Tunstall, then called for help, claiming she'd had a stillborn baby, passing Tunstall's child off as her own. Later, her boyfriend turned her in after she allegedly told him what she'd done. The discovery of Tunstall's body set off a manhunt for her 3 children, seen in this photo, ages 7, 3, and 1. Saturday, authorities found their bodies in a washer and dryer.
I have children of my own. All of these investigators have children of our own. So it's a very emotional time for all of our departments and the families involved in this case.
Police say Hall confessed to drowning the children. She has not been charged in their deaths. The family's East St. Louis neighborhood is grieving. I'm Andy Flick reporting from Atlanta.
Police say the children were drowned before she put them in the washer and dryer.
911 transcripts from the night the couple was murdered in a Stillwater suburb. New airport rules, what you need to know, and where do all the confiscated items end up?
And the Twins just might clinch a playoff berth tonight, but they do not want to count their playoffs until they're clinched. We'll tell you about the superstition regarding tonight's big game coming up.
Now on Fox 9 News.
Is tonight the night?
The corner going back is Fiorentino.
The Twins could clinch a spot in the playoffs. We're live at the Metrodome with all the excitement. The 911 call from a senseless double murder. What dispatchers heard that morning over the phone. Caught on tape how an attempt to steal an ATM machine hit a few snags.
I'm the common man Dan Cole from KFAN Radio. Should Tim Dolan be the new Minneapolis police chief? I'll tell you what I think on Fox 9 News at 5.
Live from the Fox 9 studios, here are Robin Robinson and Jeff Passolt.
Hi again, everyone. Thanks for joining us. You would have never thought we could say this about 3 months ago. The Twins could clinch their spot in the playoffs tonight.
They take on the Kansas City Royals, and if they win and the White Sox lose, the Twins are in. Fox 9's Rob Olson is live at the Metrodome with how they're already getting ready for postseason play.
Yeah, it's kind of tough for them, though, because they're trying to plan for the postseason without really knowing exactly what to plan for. Will they have home field advantage? Will they not have home field advantage? That all determines when the games will be at the Metrodome, what time they will be, who they're going to be playing against. And, of course, this is still not even a wrapped-up deal that they'll be in the postseason. And because of that, it's sort of like the witness protection program around here. They cannot confirm anything.
It's huge.
Normally, the Metrodome would not be that exciting of a place for a game against the Royals.
It's huge. They worked really hard for it, and they deserve it. They deserve every moment of it.
But fans showed up early knowing the potential for celebration if the team clinches the wild card tonight. Though players are not sure how much celebrating is allowed, with the division title still their ultimate goal.
I think it will be a celebration, but maybe not all out. So.
You mean you may not see plastic in the clubhouse?
I don't know. We'll see.
And with no playoff spot yet earned, the Metrodome actually came across more like the Pentagon. So there is a new Homer hanky?
Possibly.
Maybe?
Maybe.
And you might have seen it?
I may have, if there is one.
The team is planning for the playoffs, planning to put up plastic in the clubhouse so they can let champagne flow freely sometime. There may or may not be some champagne in the building.
There might be. Possibly.
But in true baseball fashion, don't want to jinx anything, so they won't talk about the playoff T-shirts and hats that they've already ordered. There may be a rally on Monday.
There might be. It might be at PB Plaza, but
you don't know for sure.
Not sure.
You sure you can't show me the Homer hanky?
I cannot show you the
theoretical
alleged Homer hanky.
We were trying really hard. There also may or may not be breakfast served on Kirby Puckett Place next week during the possible alleged playoffs, the division series next week. By the way, this weekend's games against the White Sox are nearly sold out. There still are tickets available, but it is going to be a packed house for all 3 games to cap off the regular season. And there are still, though, some division tickets left, some playoff tickets left for next week. Live at the Metrodome, Rob Olson, Fox 9 News.
Rob, I'd say thanks, but I don't know if we may or may not do that. The Vikings now have a 2-1 record after losing to the Chicago Bears on Sunday. So what do you think of quarterback Brad Johnson not scoring a touchdown in 9 quarters? The Fox 9 inbox is airing your responses.
I really think the offense needs a little bit more practicing, and maybe they can probably do it next time they meet the Bears. Maybe they can go to Chicago and win.
Football is a very physical, demanding, fast game. Brad Johnson had his time, has done it very well, but I believe the speed of the game has passed him.
And Nick from Golden Valley writes, I think Brad Johnson's doing a good job. I think that the offensive line is not doing its job by blocking and letting the opposing defense get through the offensive line. We appreciate all your comments and phone calls to the Fox 9 inbox.
Well, 3 men have been arrested after Bloomington police seize a marijuana crop going in the Minnesota River Valley. 240 pot plants, some of them more than 10 feet tall, were recovered from a wooded area near the Bass Pond. Arrested were Ross Thomas Flatguard and Jason Charles Brua, both 24, and 23-year-old Kevin Mark Hansen. Well, investigators worked for 3 months and used motion sensing cameras to identify the trio.
The 911 transcripts are giving a new, disturbing look into the double murder in a Stillwater suburb. The suspect still in the hospital. And Fox 9's Tim Blotz is live at Regions with what the transcripts say and why this case still has so many upset. Tim?
Yeah, it sure does, Jeff. Steve Van Kuren, the main suspect in this case, still remains in serious condition here at Regions Hospital. The Washington County Sheriff has now posted a 24-hour guard by his bedside. While we may not have charges in this case until later in the week, the 911 transcripts do reveal a lot more of what happened last Friday morning. As urgent as the scene appeared last Friday morning, the 911 transcripts reveal the neighbors were well in tune to the troubles Terry Lee had with her ex-boyfriend. The neighbor who called police said, "I got shots fired next to our neighbor's house." The dispatcher asks, "How many shots did you hear?" The caller responds, "The kids were in the house. They said their mom's been shot and she's on the ground." Another woman on the same line says, "She doesn't know where the 2 boys are." Terry Lee had 4 children. When the shooting happened, the 2 daughters escaped and ran to the neighbors for help. The 2 boys hid in a closet. The transcripts reveal neighbors knew the suspect. The caller told 911, "What's Steve's last name?" "Van Kuren. She's got a warrant for his arrest because he was over there before for aggravated assault." Van Kuren was out of jail for stabbing Lee in July with a knife. This time, he returned with a gun. The 911 dispatcher asked what kind of gun, and the caller said, "She doesn't know. She said that the barrel looks smaller." The dispatcher asks, "A small barrel shotgun?" And the caller says, "Yeah, so it might be a 410. The dispatcher then talks to one of the daughters and asks her, "How many times was your mom shot?" Investigators have blocked out the response here, but the dispatcher tries to confirm by responding, 3 times? Again, the response is blocked out, with the dispatcher asking, "Do you know where she was shot?" Now, so far, investigators have not revealed what kind of weapon was used in this or how many shots were fired. To read the entire 911 transcripts, you can go to myfox9.com. Reporting live in St. Paul, Tim Blotz, Fox 9 News.
Well, if you're just getting in, here are your Just Home headlines. Remember that illegal immigrant that was busted for living in an Apple Valley high school? Well, he may finally be heading back to Mexico. A Boston judge sentenced Francisco Serrano to 6 months in jail for breaking into an apartment there, but the time was already served. That means the 22-year-old will be turned over to immigration officials. Serrano was supposed to leave the country last year, but somehow he ended up in Boston. The Commerce Department plans to audit the National Weather Service after last week's deadly tornado in Rogers. This is in response to a request from Senator Mark Dayton. The Weather Service said it didn't have time to issue a warning because the tornado hit before it showed up on radar. A very big night in the Big Easy. The New Orleans Saints will play at the Superdome tonight for the first time since Hurricane Katrina tore their city and their stadium apart. Another first, it'll be to a sold-out audience.
Yeah, time for a check on weather now. What's the latest? Mike Nico's in for Janie, who probably took the advantage of this nice day playing hooky. At least that's what we're going to say, because it is beautiful out there, Mike.
It really is, and unfortunately it's limited, Jeff. Here's a beautiful shot of downtown. Even from here in Eden Prairie, we can shoot all the way down there because of the clear air. Temperature in the mid-60s right now if you're heading out this evening. Because the air is so cool and dry, relatively, it's going to feel like possibly the middle 50s by the time we get towards 9 o'clock, maybe even the upper 50s. But the thing you'll notice is you'll just need a jacket and the winds will calm down a little bit. So a nice night to get out there and do a little bike ride, maybe walk around the neighborhood or the nearest lake. It's not going to be that way the rest of the week, so take advantage of it. We'll talk about when the hammer drops from Canada when we come back in a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Mike. Jesse's back, who the former governor's stumping for now. Plus, why smoking a certain kind of cigarettes could have some people making money in court. Former Governor Jesse Ventura is back in the political ring, this time in the Lone Star State. He's stumping for independent Texas gubernatorial candidate Kinky Friedman. Ventura and the country singer / mystery writer are on a campaign swing that will take them to college campuses this week.
Well, sales of existing homes have fallen for the 5th consecutive month. That's according to a report out today from the National Association of Realtors. The slowdown in sales is also having an effect on home prices. The median price of an existing home sold in August dropped to $225,000. That's down 1.7% compared to a year ago. Well, smokers who use light cigarettes may be able to get money out of the tobacco companies. A federal judge granted class action status to a 2004 lawsuit. The suit accuses tobacco companies of fraud by misleading smokers into believing brands labeled light were safer. The class action is open to anyone who purchased cigarettes that were labeled light or light after they were put on the market starting in the early 1970s.
The issue goes on.
Yeah. Well, it's a booming market for banned airport items. Find out what happens to all the stuff that missed their flights.
And caught on tape, a crook's attempt to steal an ATM machine doesn't go as planned. We're going to show you how it all went down. Stick around.
I think they still probably would have a chance. It's still early. One disappointment, no big deal. No big deal. Go Vikings, go.
Unfortunately, I think the game has passed Brad Johnson by. In today's NFL, you need a quarterback that can throw accurately beyond 20 yards, and you also need a quarterback who's a lot more mobile.
Yeah, they're talking about Brad Johnson on our Fox 9 inbox today, and we were also asking for emails, so go ahead and check it out at myfox9.com. Brad Johnson being the oldest quarterback in the NFL, and we're getting a variety of opinions. We appreciate your emails and phone calls. 1 month after a plot to blow up commercial flights to the U.S. is foiled, the government is loosening up some security measures. Starting tomorrow, you can bring liquids and gels on commercial flights, but only if you buy them at the airport or if they're no larger than 3 ounces and fit into a clear Ziploc bag. Larger amounts of prescription liquid medications and baby formula must be declared at the checkpoint for additional screening.
So you got to ask what happens to all of those confiscated items that passengers have to give up. Well, in many states, they're sold, and the state keeps the money. Fox's Dan Lothian checked out a warehouse in New Hampshire.
In Concord, New Hampshire, across a 2-lane road, next to a cornfield, inside a small warehouse, airport contraband is up for sale.
And you're able to pretty much sell most of all the stuff?
Oh, yes, yes.
John Supry with New Hampshire's Surplus Division uses a forklift to lower the thousands of pounds of banned items from travelers at Boston Logan and 3 other New England airports.
About every 6 weeks we get a call from one of the airports and we'll send a truck in and pick these items up.
Some things are tossed, others are sold to the public for a few dollars. The biggest seller?
Jackknives.
Boxes and boxes of them. But there's all sorts of other things as well.
Things you can't imagine: car parts, brakes, shock absorbers, blenders, you name it.
And even now, knowing what the 9/11 hijackers used, this still keeps showing up.
You've got the box cutter.
Remember, all these items were about to be carried onto an airplane.
And yes, there still are things that people are attempting to bring on the airplane that the TSA is getting at the security checkpoint and confiscating, but the vast majority of the traveling public understands the restrictions and packs accordingly.
Still, the Transportation Security Administration says at least 30 million banned items have been collected since 2002 at 450 airports across the country.
Well, New Hampshire makes about $26,000 a year from its program. Items surrendered at Twin Cities International are turned over to the state of Minnesota Surplus Services, with the exception of hazmat materials like lighters. Most liquid and gels that are banned, they just throw those away.
I had to throw pop away the other day when I was getting on the plane, and I just only had about that much. I forgot all about it.
Yeah, well, you know, there's so many different rules. They're going to change and go on. People just need to go along with it. It's going to change every
And in the meantime, they're
6
going to have
months.
one heck of a garage sale.
Oh, yeah. Well, a drive-through robbery is caught on tape in Michigan.
But the crooks didn't get away with much. 2 suspects drove a stolen SUV through a deli to escape, but not with any money. Looks like the pair was trying to take the store's ATM machine, but little did they know the cash dispenser was bolted to the floor. Police found the vehicle about 500 yards from that store. Remember the nearly $209 million Powerball jackpot won in Wisconsin last month? Well, it's finally been turned in. 100 workers at the Sargento cheese plant about an hour north of Milwaukee had the winning ticket. Now they're celebrating. They plan to split that jackpot equally. They're going to get over $500,000 apiece after taxes.
Sweet.
In Iowa, no one has come forward to claim Saturday's winning Powerball ticket. That ticket is worth about $200 million. Sold at a convenience store in Fort Dodge, Iowa. After taxes, the winner will walk away with $140 million over 30 years, or a $67 million lump sum. Not a bad day.
Just jealous.
That's right.
All.
Oh, and then we're saying, you know what? When's it our turn, right? That's
know
what
it.
everybody's saying who bought a ticket. How long's the sunshine going to stick around?
Well, Mike Nico is in for Janie. He's going to give us not so good news.
You still have probably a better chance of seeing sunshine than winning that lottery, at least.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's positive.
Yeah.
Glass half full, man.
It's the best spin I could put on it. I apologize for that. Yeah, it's Monday, and we're already talking about getting rid of the sunshine and warm weather that's been around. Well, for today, it was a little warmer than yesterday. We're slowly creeping up the scale. We should touch 70 tomorrow, if not pass by it, before we shut the door on another warm-up. It is September. We're getting close to October, and it looks like things are going to cool down quickly once we get towards Wednesday. In fact, here it is in the record books for today, 66 degrees. You're stepping outside right now. That's the temperature. Of course, there's a little bit of a breeze out there, so you may need to take a light jacket if you're going to be out this evening. 48 the low. I think we'll be in the same ballpark tonight. 48, 49 in the suburbs, maybe 50 in the city. It all depends on when that southerly wind starts to kick in. And tomorrow it's going to kick in pretty strong. Let me get away and show you 10 to 20 miles per hour plus gusts up to 30. So it's really going to be breezy tomorrow afternoon, but that's going to help push us up to the mid-70s in a lot of areas. Notice where the thunderstorms are painted most prevalent. Up north, St. Cloud, Cambridge, and Rice Lake. This will be in the afternoon, and these will be sliding down to the south. At least the individual thunderstorms will be heading off to the east, but the whole complex will be sliding down the south and should take over the Twin Cities during the evening and into the overnight hours. It'll hit up north first. A lot of rain up there with temperatures in the 60s, and thunderstorms eventually making their way over towards Wisconsin tomorrow evening into the afternoon also. Look at that about change, 180 degrees. Well, that's what happens when you go from having a southerly wind to a northerly wind this time of the year. A chilly rain on Wednesday, mostly cloudy and kind of raw on Thursday. A thunderstorm possible Friday, even with temperatures in the 50s. Saturday, the last day of September, light rain in 57. Then October happens and it warms up. What's up with that? Yeah, October Sunday, we're back out in sunshine, 61. We may be near 70 by next Monday.
You need to make it nice for us on Saturday for the diabetes walk out at the General Mills headquarters starting at 9 a.m.
There you go.
I
Okay.
think in the morning it'll be cloudy. The rain should hold off until the afternoon.
That's
right
good
now.
news. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
You bet.
Well, the Minneapolis City Council has a big decision to make this week.
Should Tim Dolan be the new police chief of Minneapolis? That's next.
It's a big week for Minneapolis police.
Yeah, well, the mayor's pick for a permanent chief get the job. Here's Fox 9 contributor and KFAN's common man, Dan Cole.
The next step in finding a new police chief for the city of Minneapolis occurs this week. Wednesday, the name of interim chief Tim Dolan will be formally presented to the city council's executive committee for consideration. Dolan's been nominated by Mayor R.T. Rybach, enjoys the support from the majority of the city council, has the backing of colleagues, and a number of community activists have praised Dolan as well. And while Dolan generally receives high marks for his police work, including reinstating the juvenile crime unit, there are a few blemishes. The Police Community Relations Council feels that Dolan didn't act swiftly enough regarding the suspension of 2 officers after a high-profile incident in May. You might remember that surveillance video showed an officer bumping into a handcuffed suspect while he was being held by another cop. The man was then apparently left in a car with the window shut in 80-degree heat for several minutes. Community leaders also complained about a lack of information being released about the death of a man who was killed in a struggle with 2 officers. And while violent crime has increased from last year, it is slowly abating under Dolan. Another complaint regarding Dolan centers around his lack of big city police chief experience like his predecessor Bill McManus had. However, since Dolan is a lifelong resident of the Twin Cities, the chances of him remaining on the job for a long time appear to be greater than McManus types, career top cops looking for the next big city job with a bigger paycheck. The most ridiculous complaint against Dolan is from a city council member who is upset that Dolan plans to continue living in Edina rather than moving to Minneapolis. A guy shouldn't have to go through the hassle of moving over just a few miles. I'm sure the would-be police chief owns a car he can drive to work. All things considered, it appears Dolan is a good candidate for the job, and the executive committee should approve Dolan's nomination.
Have to wait till tomorrow, yeah?
That's right. We'll see if that's the way it turns out. Hey, don't forget, for all of your news, weather and sports updates any time of the day or night, all you have to do is log on to myfox9.com. We got it all for you right there.
Yeah. Got the 2-day for us, Mike, real quick?
Yeah, we're talking about a big change in the forecast over the 2 days. 73 tomorrow and then 57 for a high on Wednesday, and you'll need the umbrella then, too.
We had to ask.
Bundle up, folks. Thanks for joining us. We're going to see you right back here at 9.
Access Hollywood's coming up next.